Hello and welcome to the first episode of the Leaderpath Show. I'm Katerina Kostula. I coach pioneering leaders and teams for impact and fulfillment, and I'm so excited. Happy New Year, everybody. And as you're coming on the live, say hi on the comments so that I know you're here. Tell me where you're joining us from. Also, if you're joining in the replay, also say hi and I'll come and afterwards and comment and like your post so I know you're here. The topic of today is the top learnings I had from 2022. Is a practice I do every year. In the end of the year, I try to extract what did I learn in order to share it for my community and also to anchor the learnings, because if we don't learn from history, we are bound to repeat it. I came up with 10 learnings when I did my review. And as I was preparing for the show today, I realized it needs to be two parts. So we're going to do part one today, and we're going to have an extra episode next week. Usually this show is launched bi-weekly. Hello, I just saw a comment. Welcome. So the show is bi-weekly, but for this first beginning of the show, we're going to do the 5 learnings today and the 5 learnings next week, same time. Because I wanted to give spaciousness and allow for the learnings to land. I wanted to allow time for questions rather than me rushing to cover all 10 and quickly. I want to enjoy this process. I want you to comment as you're listening to me speak. I want you to ask questions. So I will share a learning and then I will be checking the comments. That's how we're going to do it. This show is being live streamed on LinkedIn, where most of my community is. There's going to be a YouTube replay where you can find the replays of the shows. And we'll see. I have this idea that probably at some point in the future, this will be repurposed for a podcast as well. So let's see how it goes. All right. Are you ready for the first learning? Let me know. All right, let's go. My first and most important learning of 2022 is that ego-driven goals will waste your life away. This learning was so important that when I was invited to give a TEDx talk, which I did in 2022, I chose to talk about this idea. And if you've watched the TEDx talk, it's called Do Your Goals Prevent Your Success? You will have a good idea about this learning. But I wanted to share it again because it's so important and give you a little bit more of the behind the scenes, what was cut from the TEDx script, right? So it's February 2022, and I'm in Dubai with my family, and we're having this great holiday. And I share some of this story in the TEDx. And I'm realizing one of the days I'm not enjoying, something's wrong. So I stay behind to journal. And when I journal, I realize I'm feeling kind of deflated that my business is not hitting the milestones of where I wanted it to be hitting. Like I had set this arbitrary goal, financial goal. And mind you, my business had grown 60% year on year. Like it was doing really well. And then I realized, well, what's this about? Like the business is growing so fast. I have a waiting list. Why am I feeling like this? And then I realized I had seen a post from a fellow coach in my industry that morning. And subconsciously, it was making me feel like what was happening in my business wasn't enough. And I'm like, okay, I'm journaling. All right. And then I realized, why do I want this financial milestone? I'm in Dubai having an amazing holiday with my family. The holiday would not be any better, right? It's not that, when you're struggling and I don't know, like flying economy and you're seeing the people flying business and you say, oh, I wish my business was more financially abundant. It wasn't like that. I was in a holiday, like having the time of my life. And that's when it dawned on me that I didn't want to hit that financial milestone for the money. It was an ego thing. I had attached my business growing and hitting those milestones with my worth at some subconscious level. And when I realized this, it was mind blown. I was like, wow. And then I looked back and I realized whenever in my life I was following a goal or I was pursuing something out of desire, out of joy, whether it was working at Google, I wanted to work at Google. I was visualizing the offices, right? And it landed on my lap. I wanted to write a book, and Penguin wrote to me, and a book contract landed on my lap. I didn't even have an agent. Like, so many things were manifested in my life, but there were times I struggled, and the times I was struggling, I realized I was pursuing things not because I wanted them, not because they would bring me joy, because somehow I had associated them with my ego. An example was my second promotion in my corporate career. I remember I wasted a year of my life pursuing this promotion. It didn't come, and looking back, it was such a waste of life. That's why I'm so strong. I'm using this strong argument: ego-driven goals will waste your life away, because I wasted a year pursuing something I didn't even want. It was an ego thing. Yes, it was the next step in the career ladder. I wanted to do something else. So I came back from Dubai and I had an INSEAD webinar, and I shared this idea, and this idea started resonating, and then people started reaching out and they were telling me, oh my goodness, this idea resonates so much. I accepted the job because the title looked cool, out of ego. And what is ego? Is something that we think will make us feel good enough ourselves or will impress others, right? That's how you know. And in my TEDx talk, I offered the 3 questions. How can you tell if it's an ego-driven goal? Is how does the goal make you feel? And usually an ego-driven goal will make you feel like lack, like a failure, like a loser, shame you're not there, fear you might never achieve it. While a joy-driven goal is something so exciting, right? I'm having this project coming up and I'm so excited about this. That's the difference. And once I realized that, I started getting so much more joy from my business, so much more joy of what I'm pursuing. I let go of the ego things, right? I just do things, and then a little bit less attached to the outcome. How does that learning land? Do you have any questions? Let me check on the comments. All right. I see some yeses there. So excited. Let me know if you have any comments, any questions, you want me to go any deeper before I move into the second learning. If you haven't watched my TEDx, it's a 16-minute talk about this learning. So I'm not going to go any deeper on this because I really analyzed, I really show the research that ego-driven goals are more linked with depression and are more linked with failure, right? There was some research that if you associate, for example, you're a student and you associate your self-worth with academic results, you actually perform worse in the tests, right? So there's a whole TEDx on this. It's called Do Your Goals Prevent Your Success? So if you want to go deeper, if you find this interesting, if you find this relates to you, I would suggest check out the TEDx talk. Let's move to the second learning. You do not need to be committed to your vision. You need to be committed to being in flow. So I am in Los Angeles when I have this breakthrough, and I went there to spend 3 days with my coach. And I'm a teacher of vision. Like, my flagship program is called Leaderpath, and I totally believe all of my life I had a vision, and then it was landing. As I said, it worked so well for me. It's working for my clients. Like, we clarify what they want, and then serendipitous happening. It's magic, right? And it's my flagship program. It'll probably be my next book. So I'm a huge believer in vision, and I'm in LA and being coached, and I'm feeling a little bit, I don't know, none of these business models that other coaches in the industry have fits exactly, right? And that's okay, because my business called the Leaderpath is about doing our own path. But I was seeing a business model A, business model B, business model C. None of this felt right. So I'm feeling my long-term vision being a bit blurry. But then I realized it was never about the long-term vision. Whenever I had the vision that became reality, it was always about the next step. And actually, long-term vision doesn't work for me. And it doesn't work for most of my clients because we don't know. Sometimes if you have this long-term vision, sometimes it might work for you, but a lot of the times it will become this cage. And let's say you're here and you've set the vision, the TV, and you are walking towards the TV, but at some point you don't enjoy this anymore. The flow turned right. And because you have this vision straight ahead, you keep marching straight ahead and you lost flow. And then you're miserable, and then you're failing, and then you don't know what's happening. And then you have burnout. And this was such a breakthrough for me being a teacher of vision. I realized vision, it was never about the long-term future. Vision is about clarity of who I am, first of all. Like, I'm not this ego-driven, this is not me, like these labels that other people put on me. But it was vision about who I am and what do I feel right now? What's the right next step? And one of my roomie's favorite quotes is, as you go on the way appears. And Joseph Campbell's quote that I loved this year was, if you can see clearly the path ahead of you, it's not your path, it's someone else's. So I'm having this breakthrough. All right. And I'm I redesigned my Vision Path program. As I said, it was more around removing fear and ego and connecting with joy and figuring out the next step. And it was a revolution because the clients started living their vision right now versus committing to a goal long term and then working backwards. What do they need to do? Because that's actually, a lot of the times, that doesn't, it worked when I wrote a book, right? Like, it was flow. I needed to write a book. I needed to write whatever, 40,000 words. I could work backwards to project manage. But if you have like a very long-term goal and you're trying to work it backwards, I don't think it works. What works is taking one step at a time, following your flow, what feels good, having enough challenge, and having enough joy in your path. So this was my second learning. Let me know if you have any questions. All right, are we ready for learning number 3? That's an easy one to grasp. It's not an easy one to do. The learning is staying in flow requires letting go. And I had the hardest thing I ever had to let go was the job at Google. It took me months, if not years, deliberating whether I should quit a job in one of the most desirable employers in the world, the second biggest brand in the world, to be a coach and have my own business. And it was a decision that was great. I never regretted it. My happiness, as much as I love Google, by the way, it was a great company. I loved working there. But at the point I wanted to do something else at the point I left. But I realized even when you're an entrepreneur, you still have, in order to stay in flow, let go of things. And for me, one thing that I let go in 2022, and it was really hard, was being a one-to-one coach for my alma mater, the business school INSEAD. Because I was very in demand, and I had a lot of coaching hours, coaching alumni. And when it landed this project 4 years ago, I loved it. I love coaching. I learned so much. But by the time 2022 came, I tuned in and I realized I don't want to have so many meetings in my calendar anymore. I want to have more spaciousness to create content. I want to coach more teams. I want to have more group programs. That's what I was being called to do. But it was really hard to let it go. First, in terms of I love the brand. I love giving back. And also, it had become part of my identity. I'm an INSEAD alumni and being an INSEAD coach. But also, it was a stable contract, right? In terms of safety, it was work coming in for years. It was probably the only such long-term contract I had. So there were pieces of ego or identity, love for the brand, love for the community, desire to give back, and also in terms of financial safety. And I decided to give it back and to say to the team, look, I'm not going to do any one-to-one coaching going forward. How about I do a group coaching? And they loved the idea. And we launched the INSEAD Life Vision. And I realized it took me so long to make this decision to let go something that was important, but it wasn't completely aligned anymore. And my 2022 word was alignment. But then it was replaced with something that reached more people. It was for 60 alumni, and it was a lot of fun for me, and it felt completely in flow. Similarly, I gave up new long one-to-one clients. I do leader days and chat access anymore. So I changed a lot of the way I was working. So a lot of the one-to-one work, if it's not on leader days, which is VIP coaching days, goes to my coaching associates. So I had to let go. And when this spaciousness was created, new opportunities started coming in. The TEDx came in, new team coaching clients came in, new ideas came in. But it always requires courage. Even a couple of months ago, I decided to let go sales calls if it's not for a corporate assignment. And that was hard. Someone had booked a sales call, and I had to go and say, I'm not doing sales call anymore for this type of programs. And it always requires courage. But in the end, what we end up with is a life we love, a work we love. So this is your invitation for 2023 to ask yourself, what do you need to let go? Okay, we have a question. For number 2, how do you balance emotional changes, feelings, which are volatile, versus staying true to the vision, purpose? So that's a good question. So I believe that the difference of the people who are successful and do great things is their ability to manage the emotional changes and their ability when they're going through the lows to know this is a low, it's not going to last forever. So what has helped me is being coached, by the way. There was a type of program, a type of service, which I thought I didn't want to do it anymore. And then being coached and observing, why don't I want to do it anymore? And then I realized the clients I had that had bought the service were not in alignment. So it wasn't that I didn't want to do this work. It's just that the clients that I had were not a great fit, right? So that was an aha moment of me feeling low, thinking, oh, I'll give up doing this entirely. But that would have been a mistake. So being coached is one way, journaling is another way. So meditation. So it is about tuning in and asking yourself, why am I feeling like this? And also, you don't have to make decisions when it's letting go of things. You don't have to make decisions in anger, right? I had a contractor this month that she decided in a moment to leave. And I don't think, I think there was some regret in that decision, right? So when we're letting go, we don't want to do it when we're angry. We don't want to do it when we're tired, when we don't want, and also the more you're staying in tune with your vision, you won't reach a burnout point. You don't want to reach a point that literally you need to let go because your health is in danger, right? So you allow some time, you're asking yourself some questions. And I'm not here to pretend that I'm so courageous and I'm letting go of things. It took me 3 years to let go of Google. From the time I got trained as a coach, it took me 3 years to make the decision. And it took me many, many months deliberating whether I should let go of the one-to-one INSEAD coaching. So you don't have to let go immediately. But every time I let go, because I took my time to deliberate on the decision, there was such an spaciousness and new opportunities that were more aligned came in, right? So I hope that answers the question. Thank you very much for asking it. Let me see. Where are we next? I said we don't need to let go quickly, but what we need to do quickly is taking inspired action, right? Many of us are wondering why our dreams are not happening fast enough, right? And I'm a believer of not attaching timing to your dreams. Like when we're doing the vision boards in my vision path program, we don't put any timelines. I'm against that. But the answer has been given to you in terms of inspired action. The problem is we don't act quickly. Like you get this idea, oh, I need to reach out to this person, or I need to launch this, or I need to do this, or I need to get the team around and launch this project. You get this ideas in terms of partnerships, in terms of products you want to launch, in terms of projects you want to launch, in terms of things you want to do, and you ignore them. You're second guessing yourself. And I think that's one of the biggest reasons why people are not achieving their vision, right? So what I saw, what really worked in throughout my career, was taking this quick inspired actions. The moment I feel the inspiration, acting quickly. But why don't we act quick enough, right? The reason we don't act quick enough is because we are afraid of failure. We are afraid of rejection, right? So that's a problem. We're afraid of being embarrassed. What if I launch this and nobody buys it? What if I reach out for this person to partner and he says or she says no? So the way around this is when you feel an inspiration, how can you be not attached to the outcome? How can you make it so you're not attached? Okay, thank you for telling me. I'm back. And we were talking about taking inspired action quickly, not attached to the outcome. Let me know if you are back, please, with me. Awesome. All right. So what I want to invite you to consider is, how can you take inspired action and how can you not be attached to the outcome, right? If you're reaching out for a partnership, it's just protect your ego. It's fine. Just psych yourself up. It's a no. What about if you're launching a project, right? Or if you're launching a product? How can you do it quickly? If in a way I have found to not be attached to the outcome is find ways to test the idea before you pour a lot of money to invest in it, right? So just to expand a little bit on this idea, when most of the opportunities that came in my life came through small inspired actions that were not attached to the outcome, right? When I was at Google, I volunteered to coach some entrepreneurs, and INSEAD saw this experience and they hired me to be a business school entrepreneur coach. One Christmas, I decided, how about I interview the best coaches, women coaches in the world? And I reached out to them and I said, I'll interview and I'll write an article. And I wrote one of those articles. I interviewed Brenda Benz. And 6 months later, Penguin editor finds this article and offers me a book contract, right? Similarly, in 2022, I feel I need to talk about parenting. I have so many good, solid principles and strategies that could be helpful to people. And it wasn't making much sense strategically because I talk about vision and I talk about leadership and team. But I had learned my lessons. When you feel an inspiration, do it. But how could I do it without being attached to the outcome? So I found a way to do it without investing a lot. Like I did it as a LinkedIn Live, and then it was repurposed and sold as a course on my website. And I was not attached to the outcome, and it was a lot of fun. And then, of course, like it always happens, someone who attended this Parent Path course a week later reached out for a big team coaching project, right? That was not my intention. I was going to do it anyway. I didn't care if people would buy it or would attend. It was something that I wanted to do for me. But that's how life works. All right. I almost never had connection challenges, but we are having them today in the first episode of the Leaderpath Show. Well, we're not going to let this deter us. If you're still there, say hi. And if you have any questions, ask them. And I'm going to move to learning number 5. To be more successful, you need to think less, not more. The meditation teachers talk about this all the time, right? But I was listening to it, but I was never really getting it. And the reason I wasn't getting it is because I thought I was successful because of my intellect. I was good at solving problems. That's why I'm successful. What's the penalty of that? Is that if you think you're successful because of your intellect, you're using your intellect all the time, you're thinking all the time, and that creates anxiety. You can never really relax. So that was when my coach told me, oh, you're not successful because of your intellect. You're successful despite of your intellect. There are other things that make you successful, like first wanting to be successful, like having that vision, but also the courage, the creativity. There's other things. There's the presence. And when I got it, I was like, oh, so I can let my intellect go. And for the first time, I remember I was celebrating my birthday in Mykonos with my girlfriends, and I was waiting for them to land this past year. And for the first time, I didn't feel the need to use my brain. I didn't feel the need to write something insightful for LinkedIn or my other social media channels. I could just be, right? And it was one of the highlights of the year. This moment, I'm viewing at the sea, waiting for my girlfriends to come and celebrate me. And I don't need to think. And since then, it became so much more easier for me to just do meditation, sat my brain down. I realized the biggest blockage was that I thought I needed my brain to be working, because if my brain wasn't working, then I didn't have much else to offer. I don't know if any of you relate to that. I know a lot of people in my community, I think their intellect is what sets them apart. Okay, let me see. Some comments. The thing is, I think because I was cut off, I don't know what Desiree is responding here. Older people might have bigger financial cushions, potentially passive income streams, more self-awareness, but also more skills, experience, and connections to increase success. I agree with that. Thank you for sharing this to the community, Desiree. And then we have this comment. They have the network to accelerate things, but are more skeptical on radical. And I'm back. So I'm going to be wrapping things up because I don't want to be cut off again. Let's go through the 5 learnings, and then next week we're going to go to 5 more. And I love your comments and discussion, and you can continue this in the comments even if after the replay is done, and I'm happy to go in and engage with you via comments. So, ego-driven goals will waste your life away. You do not need to be committed to your vision. You need to be committed to being in flow. Staying in flow requires letting go. Take inspired action quickly, non-attached to the outcome. To be more successful, often you need to think less, not more. We have a snippet on Rule 5. You cannot think your way out of your behavior's habit. Absolutely. That's it. I think Einstein said you cannot solve a problem from the same level of consciousness that created it. So a lot of the time we need to shut the conscious brain so we can access the inner wisdom Also, that's why I like being exposed to different ideas, being exposed to different people as well. So my thinking gets challenged all the time. Let me know if you have any questions. Otherwise, I will wrap up this here. And for those of you who want to stay, I will talk a little bit about what I have coming next week, which is the New Year, New Frontier. But in terms of the 5 learnings, I thought you found them useful. And I'll go deeper on the other 5 next week. I will set up the LinkedIn event, so you will need to find it and sign up, or just show up like same time next Thursday, and I'll be here to share some more. I don't want to risk staying more now with all this internet connection problems. All right. Let me talk a little bit about next week. So next week, I'm starting New Year, New Frontier. Is my best-selling program of the year. More than 20 people are in already, and it's so exciting. And it's 2 weeks. The first week is to review the previous year. And you will do, if you were to join, you would do the learnings, but that's only one of the exercises. So every day you get an audio from me, and we're in a Telegram community, and you do 1 or 2 exercises a day. And then every Thursday, there's a 90-minute workshop with a breakout, with a workbook. So it's a lot of opportunity to celebrate, let go of the things you need to let go, extract the learnings, because I really do believe that in order to have a great year, it's all based on how you close the previous year. This is counterintuitive, but I really, really believe this. And then the second week is about planning ahead and really becoming intentional of what you want to do in 2023 in all the areas of your life, work, health. I'm not, my philosophy, as you've seen, is not around setting goals or not even setting resolutions, because I don't like them to be in a timeline of I need to achieve this in a year, right? We broke the internet. All right, everyone. So if you feel inclined or inspired to join the New Year, New Frontier, is $111, and we start on Monday. And I'd love to see you in future the Leaderpath Show episodes. I'm excited about the opportunity to spend more time with you, interact, reflect on the things we're passionate about, like leadership and vision and creating our own path in life. And Happy New Year, everyone. This was tumultuous, this first episode, but thank you for tuning in. And I'm excited for what the year holds for all of us. Take care.